Today, in the makeshift courtroom set up in Freedomburg to accommodate one of the most emotionally charged trials in recent South African history, Judge Nathan Erasmus delivered a verdict that will resonate across the nation. Kelly Smith, the mother of 6-year-old Joshlin Smith, Jacquen Appollis, her boyfriend, and Steveno van Rhyn, a close associate, were all sentenced to life imprisonment for human trafficking. Additionally, they each received a 10-year sentence for kidnapping, a sentence that will run concurrently with their life terms. Before we continue, this is just to inform new viewers, we've reached the end of our Joshlin Smith trial breakdowns. The sentence has been delivered and we will break it down in this video, but this is not the end of the Joshlin saga. Remember, the search for the 6-year-old is still ongoing, so any developments that surface in future will be there to break it down for you. Also, Laurentia Lombard must also have her judgment day, a hearing that will determine whether she will gain immunity from conviction. We will break that down too. However, most importantly, we will relaunch our true crime podcast, Crime Central South Africa, with a thorough deep dive into the Joshlin Smith case that will premiere on Tuesday, the 3rd of June 2025 on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link to that channel we will leave in the description. We will also soon be launching Season 2 of Unsolved Murders South Africa, a podcast series that focuses on unresolved cases in South Africa, particularly those that have grown cold over the years. Thank you for the subs, likes, shares, and comments. It really helps us, a small, self-funded media publication, in our mission to tell South African stories in a meaningful way. Diving into the sentence, Judge Erasmus revisited the road to this moment, acknowledging how deeply Joshlin's disappearance fractured Deersville. Families were torn apart. Searchers still can't wear clothes they wore during the community's desperate search efforts. Teachers at Joshlin's school, like Edna Mart, still face questions from children too young to understand how one of their classmates could just go missing. The judge reminded everyone that Joshlin was not just a child, she was a symbol of a community's failure and a nation's cry for help. He made it clear that this case was never just about legal precedent, it was about ensuring that both the accused and the community understood why such a severe sentence was necessary. Judge Erasmus spoke about the purpose of sentencing, not only to punish but to deter, to show mercy when warranted, and to protect society. But in this case, rehabilitation was no longer a consideration. The facts spoke for themselves. Joshlin's disappearance was not an accident or an unfortunate series of events. It was premeditated, callous, and executed with the knowledge of the harm it would cause. Jacquen Appollis, a father figure to Joshlin, showed no remorse. According to the social worker Errol Peterson, whose report the judge praised as one of the most comprehensive he'd ever seen, Appollis displayed a concerning lack of concern for Joshlin's fate. Despite coming from a supportive background, he spiraled into drug abuse and violence, ultimately betraying a child who trusted him. Steveno van Rhyn was described bluntly as, quote-unquote, a menace to society. His criminal history was extensive and violent. Peterson found no sense of accountability or care from him. His own words to the social worker were chilling. He simply did not care what happened to Joshlin. This from a man who himself is a father to a young daughter. Kelly Smith, Joshlin's biological mother, was painted as manipulative and unrepentant. Despite efforts by her family to help her, especially her own mother, who submitted a victim impact statement, Kelly pushed them away. The judge recalled Kelly expressing her desire to get rid of her daughter to make her life easier with Jacquen. Her lack of empathy stretched back to the day Joshlin vanished, and the courtroom saw very little evidence of maternal anguish. Joshlin's last known hours were filled with betrayal. The night before she disappeared, an argument over a stock theft charge against Jacquen turned violent. Joshlin was dragged into a house. The next day, she was gone, sold for 20,000 rand. This was not just kidnapping, it was human trafficking, and that charge carried with it a mandatory minimum sentence of life imprisonment. The defense argued Joshlin suffered no physical harm, but the judge dismissed this. Freedom of movement and liberty was stripped from her. That alone constituted harm. The judge rejected the notion that a missing child whose fate remains unknown could be anything less than emotionally and socially violated. The court also heard deeply personal victim impact statements, not just from family, but from the community. A touching example came from Cecilia Olivier, who spoke of Joshlin's daily visits, and from Edna Mart's grade 1 class, who made a tree of fingerprints missing just one branch, Joshlin's branch. Judge Erasmus acknowledged how crime does not just affect victims, it ripples through families, classrooms, and neighborhoods. The judge reminded the court that although emotions ran high, sentencing must be fair, balanced, and legally sound. But there was no mitigating factor to soften the blow. Drug use was no excuse. Youth was no shield. Open quote. Even if I were not bound by the prescribed sentence, I would still have considered the harshest punishment possible, close quote, the judge said. He concluded with clarity. On human trafficking, life imprisonment for all three. On kidnapping, 10 years served concurrently. Their names will also be added to the National Child Protection Register, ensuring they can never again be trusted with children. Today's sentence marks the end of a harrowing chapter, but for DS4, for Joshlin's classmates, and for a mother who must now raise her daughter's children, the pain continues. The whereabouts of Joshlin remain unknown. Justice may have been served in court, but closure is still out of reach. We'll continue to follow the aftermath, the appeals, and any developments in the search for Joshlin, so stay tuned. This brings us to the end of our breakdown. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. While we reach the end of the Joshlin Smith trial, we have more content planned, more cases to unpack, and true crime stories to dive into. So believe me when I tell you, subscribing to our channel and turning on those post notifications is absolutely necessary. Also, visit our news website, swisherpost.co.za, for the best explainers on every important event happening around you. No agenda, just the story.